We're good. Okay, we will bring this council meeting for March 26, 2024 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Carter,
I'm here.
Deputy Mayor Swatman,
Present.
Councilmember Baldwin, Councilmember Fullerton,
Here.
Councilmember Hubler,
Here.
Councilmember McClymans, and Councilmember Roach.
Here. Okay, there are no agenda modifications. We have a presentation from the Historical Society. I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Mark Hamilton. Oh, yes. Yes, is there a motion?
We need a motion to excuse Councilmember McClymans and Councilmember Baldwin.
So moved for both.
Second.
Can we do it both at the same time?
I think so.
I believe so.
Second.
Yes. Okay. We have a motion. All those in favor of excusing the council member, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Well, thank you. All right. Mr. Hamilton, sorry about that.
See my first slide. My name is Mark Hamilton. I'm with the Greater Bonnie Lake Historical Society. We appreciate Mayor Carter, Deputy Mayor Swatman, and Council for inviting us here this evening for a very important thing that we believe that needs your assistance, and that's to assist us in finding a new location where we have been for the last 12 years, hoping that with your assistance, we can find that new location. We also want to plant something in your head that we think short-term, long-term that the community here needs, and that is a full-time museum. Greater Bonnie Lake Historical Society was founded in 2001. 3 people started it. Jennifer Wipke, history teacher, Dennis Dossie, longtime resident, and a retired police chief, Don Fraser. We're strictly a 501c. It is all grassroots from the very get-go. No council person came forward, no mayor came forward to assist us. We started it completely on our own. And for the last 23 years, we have continued to serve the public and protecting and preserving the history of this area. This is the first my slide didn't quite come out there, but this is one of the first city council meetings. Mr. Mayor, you're the 13th mayor of the city of Bonnie Lake. First one is up there, Ken Simmons, but that's the first council. And we, in this beautiful surrounding of new building, which you can imagine, that was the first town hall. Many people believe that the history of this region began and ended, with us here as a city. And of course, it's great. We're 75 years of age this year, but actually there's a lot more history up here than we believe. I rolled it that back. Okay. How about going back over 13,000 years? This is the Sky Stone. Maybe some of you don't know it, but this is a Ice Age erratic. It was located here number of years ago. It has man-made markings on it. These man-made holes in this rock align with celestial features. The Native Americans believe there's religious significance to it, and this is something that is on display. Also, we also go back into history of the Osceola mud flow 5,600 years ago. We look out at our beautiful Mount Rainier 5,600 years ago. It was actually much higher, 2,000 foot higher. There was a volcano explosion at that time, and it flooded this entire area. Most of the things that we stand on are from that flow right here. This building is. The picture that you see is an archaeologist's dig in 1973, where they dug down about 50 feet and they found human artifacts, not human remains, but human artifacts There is artifacts they found also in Enumclaw and in Buckley. So before this mud flow occurred, there were human inhabitants here on the plateau. That picture is not very good. That was taken on a dig on, I think the city still owns it, Reed Farm. Of course, everybody knows about Lake Tapps. This is a rendering of Lake Tapps before all the homes got here in 1910. The reservoir is actually, for its time, was very, very unique. And we have all the history. We've recorded all the history. It goes, people think it started in 1910. Actually, it started back in 1893. It was designed by a gentleman out of Tacoma, Archie Hawk. He came back in 1954. He did not build it. He came back in 1954, and it was exactly the way it was built when he designed it in 18. These are some gentlemen out that work for the power company, obviously out checking the at this time, I believe it was the dikes around the lake. By this time in 1922, this lake, the reservoir, the power station in Sumner was powering all of Seattle. It was a major source of power in Seattle, major source of power in Tacoma. We were transmitting electricity as far as Everett, and as far north as Everett, and far south is Longview. All the information I've just talked about is all stored in our resource center. And we thank the city of Bonnie Lake for the last 12 years for allowing us to use this facilities, the old city hall, the old public works, the old, they shared it. We were in the old dais, the old chambers, and that's what we have archived a lot of the information that we store. We are religiously open to the public from 9 a.m. to 12, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and it's strictly volunteer based. We have no paid employees. We are very happy to announce that we got a $15,000 grant from Pierce County. We'd like to thank Pierce County for that money. We were able to cobble money that we had together with the grant, $15,000. We upgraded all of our computer equipment. Council, nobody in no historical society in this area our size has anything like we have in archiving hardware, software. We have a software called PastPerfect. I want to tell you about a couple of two records that we have, two quick stories. We have thousands and thousands of records, but we have most of them are stories. I'll tell you about Emily John, Emmanuel Johns and Mary Johns. They came out here in 1900. Emmanuel got a letter from his brother Owen. He was older, 59. He was out of work. Owen told him about a job out here managing a shake mill in a little community called Eli. So he moved his wife, Mary, and his 14-year-old son, and they moved out here. And that shingle mill sat on the top of a massive falls, and the shingle mill was powered by, we know it as Fennel Creek. The shake mill, of course, didn't survive. Neither did his son. His son's name was Victor. He had named the falls, the 60-foot falls that the shake mill was on top after his 15-year-old son. Unfortunately, he passed away. The city now owns the property. The name has remained. The house that's on it that the city owns is one of the old bunk houses. Obviously, this area was very remote, so they had to have some places for the workmen to stay. So the old house is a remnants of basically the bunkhouse where the workers stayed and where the shake mill was open. For a closer one here is the Sumner Great Fire. This is a record in which we've gotten from of course, the official report from the fire department. What you're viewing here right now is the start of that fire. There's actually a film available that we have, and we're going to archive. The public can get access. We've taken all the public records, and we're going to open that up to the public so they can come in and view it and actually see the film. What you see on the left is the actual explosion of the transformer that started the fire. What you see in the middle is the actual fire that's just below the telephone pole from the transformer. And the third one is one of Bonnie Lake's finest, the police department, showing up to take over the control. That all happened within the first 2 minutes. I don't know why the gentleman was on the telephone or on his phone and taking pictures at that time. He may have seen something, but that's the part of the official record of that fire actually starting. That's archived in our database. You can come to the resource center and you can view that at any time. And it's not up there yet. There's things that are missing, but soon will be. This is the location we have in mind. Sorry, the font's kind of messed up there, but it is a surplus training room that the city is no longer, we understand the city is no longer using. We would like this as, the older building is going to be taken down. We'd like to be able to take this over and to start what our ultimate goal is, and that is to build a modern day museum. With that, though, we're going to need from the city is a long-term lease. I'll explain here in a second why but plus we need our operating costs as low as possible because, as I'll explain, we don't have a lot of operating funds that come in. This is our source of revenues most of the time. Members donate money. We have sales of some products. We get donations. And when I talk about donations, we do the tunes and taps, and we do Bonnie Lake Days, those kinds of things. We get $5 and $10 donations. That's what I'm talking about. We also get grants. Pierce County has been very generous. We've gone to the tribes. The tribes have been, helpful in the past. But what we really want to go after is the Washington State Historical Society. They have grant funding that is available for capital projects. But again, you have to have an established, historical society. You have to have a building that has a long-term lease. They're not going to give you money. When we're talking about money, we're talking about $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $100,000 to build out a museum, unless you have, it's not going to be turned into something else in 6 months. So you have to prove to them that you can get you have a long-term lease. This gives us an opportunity, to build over time, a proper museum. And just to point out, this city, if you think about it, we are the capital of East Pierce County, and we should be the reservoir of the history of this East Pierce County. That's why we feel so strongly that this community needs a proper museum. Just want to go over some of the things that we have done in the past. Again, I apologize for the font. I'm not sure what's going on there, but we're very proud of our marker series that we've done. We did a collaboration between Pierce County and the city of Bonnie Lake. They helped us out, and we were able to put 13 markers out there. And what these are, they're locations of historical things that's happened, historical events, and we'd like to do more. We're very fortunate to have a writer as one of our members, Winona Jacobson, longtime member. She wrote a book through Arcadia, and it gives the first 100 years of the Bonnie Lake Plateau. That book is available, of course, at our resource center. You want to come by and buy one, but it's also available, of course, on Amazon. A while back, I want to say about 2012, we got contacted by Lawton Case, a gentleman, Lawton Case, out of the city of Enumclaw. He lived in the city of Enumclaw. He heard we had an interest in the Malots. Some of you may or may not know, you've certainly heard of Sky Island. The Malots retired here in 1959, and they purchased 160 acres up there. Sky Island is essentially the old Malots location. The Malots are famous for their initial work with Walt Disney. Walt Disney, if you're old enough like me, you remember the True Life Adventure series that happened on television. These were the first nature films that actually put out commercially. And the Malots were the pioneers for it in 1948, right after the war. Something that Walt Disney wanted to do. They collaborated with Walt Disney for many, many, many years. What we got with Lawton Case, since he was the executor, he's a nephew of the Malots. We got all the archives. from that estate. Not, I mean, not all of them. There's some that are missing, but a lot of them has been archived in our database. They're available for public viewing. We've had authors that have contacted us and that are writing books about Disney, about the Disney company, because we have this in our archive. Now, what we wanted to do too is now we have this wonderful resource. What could we do with it? Between 2013, 2016, we had our film festival here, right in this room, when we actually showed those old films that Walt Disney had. Got licenses. We had to get a special licensing for Walt Disney Company to do it. We also showed up-to-date, nature films. 2013, we only had about 50 people show up. By 2016, though, we had over 300 people show up, mostly because we had a speaker from the Jane Goodall Society that came in and made a presentation. He heard about our film festival. He knew about the Alfred and Nelma Malottes, and he wanted to honor them. He came in and spoke, and we would continue. We'd be doing it today, Council, but frankly, it was awful time-consuming to put this thing on and kind of expensive. I think we basically, the last year, we broke even with the expensive. It was free. Actually, we made it free as charge because we wanted to, we got this information. We like to try to keep things as free as possible so everybody can enjoy it. The picture down below of the two young ladies, we had a little film contest where they can go out with their camera and they could shoot a little nature film, and then we judged them, and so they got a little prize. A lot of people don't realize that they've heard of the Oregon Trail, but they don't realize that the Oregon Trail actually went through us. Okay, there's a lot of parts of the Oregon Trail. We know exactly where it ended up in Oregon, but there's a lot of splintered roads. And one of those is the Natchez Trail. And Natchez Trail actually comes through the city of Bonnie Lake. So back, I want to say 2011, we hosted the Oregon California Trails Association. We had people coming from all over Western United States to come in and examine this part of the Oregon Trail. They were, like I said, we brought these people in, no help from the city. We did it all on our own, all sweat equity. All the people that did all the presentations, all volunteers from the Society. But again, they really appreciate it, and they learned a lot about our community and about this part of the Oregon Trail. Kind of a tearjerker for us. Recently, I'm not sure of the date. One of our members saw on social media like Facebook, there was a discovery of a gravestone in a garbage heap, and they had a picture on the front of it. And of course, the member knew immediately the significance of it. The name on it was Daisy Kirkley. The death in 1886. Well, if you know the history of Lake Tapps, it's made up of multiple lakes. Makes a Kirkley Lake, Crawford Lake, Church Lake after Henry Church, and then of course Lake Tapps. We knew the significance of this because we knew that they had moved out here, took up land in 1886, 84, 85, and 86 with their daughter. Unfortunately, the daughter died in 1886. We knew that the child was probably turned on the bottom of the lake, because that's where their property is today, was then. But we didn't know that there was a grave marker. Somewhere along the line, somebody got, probably when the lake was down, and stole the gravestone where it was. So there was a great deal of pushback. We had two of our oldest members go out and go through the garbage and grab this gravestone. We got some pushback from people when we did that, but we knew we had to do something because it was weeks away from Halloween, and our fear was, since this was on social media, someone's going to pick it up and this thing would be stuck in somebody's front yard. And again, this child, disgracing this child even more. Once we had the stone, we knew what we had. We authenticated it. We went ahead and contacted the museum in Buckley, got in touch with the Pioneer graveyard and also in in Buckley. And we made arrangements. That's where Mary and James is buried. She's not there, but we just made the decision to put her stone there. So we went ahead and moved the gravestone to there. And this, there was a ceremony. I think about 40 to 50 people showed up at this ceremony. The two young ladies, they're standing by the gravestone. Those are actually ancestors of James and Mary Kirkland. This one here is another time of recovery. We got a call from, contacted by a gentleman named Roger Hunt. He was great ancestors of the Orcutts, David Orcutts. The Orcutts were another pioneer, early pioneer, 1889. All of them, of course, were hop farmers. This is when Lake Tapps had about 100 people out here. He had donated land in 1889 as a graveyard. Like I say, this would have been after days. He also donated land for a school. Derringer School is on that land that he donated today, the new one. It's up here. The graveyard was named the Derringer Graveyard forever. We're not sure how it got changed, but it was wrong. Never the Derringer Graveyard. We worked with Mr. Hunt, got the history right, and allowed him, since this was unincorporated Pierce County, to go to the county council and get the name changed. And this is a ceremony which the county stepped forward, paid to get the thing cleaned up, the old graveyard cleaned up. And of course, they put this sign up. We were hit badly by COVID, like everybody else. We lost a lot of membership, donations went down, but that didn't stop us from moving online. We're not, even though we have a lot of equipment, we moved our meetings online. We started a lecture series. And we did a series of lecture series on the history, and we recorded them. And you can watch those today on Facebook. So even though that our location was shut down, we continued to outreach to the community and through these lectures. I'll just end with this this slide here. Leota Musgrave was a longtime member of the Historical Society, a longtime member of the city of Bonnie Lake, and she was always one pushing for a museum, a permanent museum up here. And of course, Carter, Mayor Carter, he would end up, chasing Mayor Johnson around, bugging him all the time for this museum. And one day back in 2006, she came up with the statement, "Where in the hell is the Bonnie Lake Museum?" But she was a sweet lady. She was the church lady, and we were all shocked. But her voice at that time stuck, and that's kind of our motto. So we have it on, T-shirts. We put it on T-shirts. I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk. Like I say, we need assistance. Get that short for the move, and also though we want to work on getting a permanent museum up here. Again, we are the city on the plateau. Nobody's going to touch us on size. And it's just, this is where, the archiving and a museum should be. It should be in the city of Bonnie Lake, not in Buckley, not in Enumclaw, right here.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. And thank you to all of you who've been here for the Historical Society. I look forward to working with you and come up with something that we can do for you guys. That'd be amazing. Council, any discussion? Councilmember Hubler.
Where the space that you guys are looking at? I saw that in the picture, but I don't. It's triple wide. So it would still be on this. Okay,
It's
so
still back
still
there
be
where it's
on that
fenced
same
off.
property?
Potentially,
Okay,
not necessarily, but potentially.
okay.
Deputy Mayor Swanley.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. Yes, thank you to the Historical Society. I've been around for you guys for years and years and years, and you guys have always been there for the city. You know, it's some people probably don't know, many of you don't even live in the city very much or come up here, but you're really there for the citizens of Bonnie Lake. You provide an incredible value. You know, I've always seen that with you guys. You're always publishing your meetings that anybody can attend and watch and everything. Amazing amount of history that you save there. So I look forward to working with you many years in the future. I hear good things about possibly, again, a reoccurrence of getting an actual museum. We'll see if that can make that happen for you guys. But again, for being flexible, you know, the city is like young and kind of a little bit clunky. So we've really had problems finding good space for you guys. But really, I personally appreciate your flexibility and in working with us and staying with it. So it's really great to have you guys around. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. And that was some of that stuff I didn't even realize. So, I mean, that's beautiful stories, heart-wrenching on the the gravestone. Just thank you so much. And I also, you know, definitely look forward to working with you and seeing what we can do to help out the Historical Society. Thank you.
I've been lucky enough to be on a couple of those Zooms and watch and whatnot, and actually attend that service in Buckley. And it was phenomenal. You guys did a really great job of putting that thing on. Yeah. Who else? All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it. All right. Next, we move on to announcements, appointments, and presentations. I have a statement that I typed out here, so I'm going to read this really quick, just to kind of hopefully end some of this stuff, is my hope. So here's my statement. There's been a lot of mudslinging and hate on social media, weird, regarding the process used to appoint a new mayor. I would like to quickly clear the air on a couple of items. Number one is the city clerk's office. It has been said that there was some kind of backdoor deal and it was prepared ahead of time. The clerk's office, by having a name placard with my name, was evidence of such. The clerk's office was thinking ahead. This is what I'm saying. The clerk's office was thinking ahead and had oaths of office for each council member at the March 12th council meeting. Then at the March 19th council workshop, they had an oath of office for each applicant and had printed off a name tag on the printer for each applicant. The clerk's office was thinking ahead and trying to be on top of any possibility, and they should be commended for their thoughtfulness. I can see how one might conclude that this was all done behind closed doors and the eventual outcome was exactly what people thought it might be if they were not paying attention to the previous meetings and hearing the arguments from the entire council. The process was the most public and most transparent process I'm aware of. It was also awkward. Since this was the first time this has happened in Bonnie Lake, we relied heavily on the RCW, the Revised Code of Washington, and the advice of our city attorney. I would request the council to come up with a code on how we deal with this kind of thing in the future so that no one else has to go through this again. As for the council worked through all of the arguments and disagreements in open public meetings as they should. This was a very transparent and open process to the point of being awkward and a little painful. The council investigated the applicants, discussed the applicants, and chose who they thought would do the best job at this time. I'm appreciative of the council's support and will work hard to not disappoint them, the city of Bonnie Lake, or the employees of the city. And then staff. I have been meeting with staff and those associated with city business to talk about the future and what we want Bonnie Lake to be. I've had some great conversations with staff and will continue working toward the goals and visions we have together. Thank you to the city of Bonnie Lake staff that have had to put up with a really difficult, stressful, and awkward change in leadership and have done so with an amazing amount of grace. I look forward to working with staff and council for the betterment of our entire community. And finally, thank you to Mayor McCullough for his time and effort these past 2 years as mayor. The council has lost 2 meetings, a workshop, delayed a budget retreat to deal with the mayor position, and I would ask that we all now return to the business of the city. Thank you. All right, with that, we will move to, there's no public hearings. We'll go on to citizen comments. This is your time to address the council on city business. The city will now enable the video and microphone for those attending virtually. You will need to turn on your video and microphones on your end if you are wanting to be seen or heard. We will start with those who are here in person and move to virtual comments afterwards. You have 5 minutes. State your name and address for the record, please. Anyone?
Ron Walker. I live at 174th Avenue East in Bonnie Lake. And I am a member of the Historical Society. I have 2 connections into Bonnie Lake. That was the reason I joined the Historical Society. I happen to be a ancestor relationship to the Bonnie family itself. And but that isn't the reason I got up here tonight. Tonight I wanted to talk about the fact that this is our 75th anniversary in Bonnie Lake. We have a proud heritage here that we should want to upkeep. And I went out this weekend and took a look at the 13 markers that we have around the city, describing some of the events in our Bonnie Lake. I was sad to see that these markers are getting into a point of disarray. They are not being looked after. The grounds around them are encroaching on them. And so I would hope that the city would take into consideration in the 75th year some way of making sure that those markers are there longer than we would expect them to be in, as we've seen in other cities. But that'll.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Nona Jacobson, 3915 25th Street Southeast in Puyallup. I'm also a member of the Greater Bonnie Lake Historical Society and have been for quite a few years. And the author of Bonnie Lake's Plateau. One of the things that we have been doing on a regular basis and been very proud of is doing some living history basically from some of the older citizens in the area. One of which is here today, Luann Keogh. Don't mind my saying your age, 91. Has gotten together with us and actually is a regular volunteer at our Historical Society. They have told stories that are very important to this area. She is the niece of James Vandermark. Her husband was Dwayne Keogh, definite influence in the community. Her sister, Joan was married to Ken Simmons' son. So a lot of interaction, important, and we should end up definitely continuing to preserve the stories that these people have to tell. And in addition, normally comes out in the summertime, but because of tonight, we decided to end up hurrying that along. It is basically the history of our Historical Society. So we've got one for each of you. Normally we end up providing 20 of them for you.
Thank you. Thank you for your stories. Councilmember
Yeah.
Fullerton.
Miss Jacobson, I was just wondering, recently, we had that statue, Boy with Birds, was stolen. How did that affect the Historical Society? What are your thoughts and feelings on that? Are you wanting that to be replaced as it was, or are you wanting to get a new, different version? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Council Mayor, I'm Dan Decker. I have a 201 Fifth Bonnie Lake, Washington. I'm pleased that ignorance has not died in Bonnie Lake. To be educated is to be bliss. Ignorance only creates stupid. Shouldn't and shall have very different meanings. Should means you can if you choose to. Shall means you have no choice. I say this to those quoting the Municipal Research Service Center, Robert Rules of Order, or the Revised Codes of Washington. The election of the mayor is valid and the rules and laws are clear. The council has privilege to vote or not on any subject. The deputy mayor, even when acting as mayor, does not lose the right to vote on any subject. Robert Rules, city ordinance, and RCWs do not take the elected council members' rights away because of an appointment to deputy mayor or mayor. Yet, once the appointed becomes an elected official via the council to a permanent position, such as mayor, the mayor no longer has an equal vote as a council member. Note, deputy mayor position is not a permanent position. The position can be changed by the council at any time. And there is an example of it right now. Someone stated that the new mayor, Mayor Carter, was not endorsed by the city police chief. The police chief of the city of Pacific, or Mayor Carter, is employed as a sergeant detective, was at the council meeting. He did endorse Mayor Carter. Did anyone notice the Deputy Mayor Carter was the only nomination to the position of mayor by the council? Therein, Deputy Mayor Carter only needed one vote to become mayor. By the by, Deputy Mayor Carter was nominated not once, but twice by two different council members. No council member nominated anyone else. The council had opportunity to nominate all day, all night, but they didn't. And then they turned around, some of them, and became very pleasant. Yeah, well, I don't want that kind of pleasantry around me. Thank you very much, council. Oh, by the way, Albert and Wilma, I knew them from 1964 to 1966. I used to go to their home once a week. They were very, very, very nice people, but they were very, very, very peculiar in their actions around people. They were very intelligent, and intelligence sometimes breeds peculiar. And they used to show me the old videos that they had when they were off in Africa and all the different places they went. I really enjoyed those people. I'm sorry they're gone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Go to the order. Okay. We'll now start those that are virtual. You have 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record, please. I don't think we see anybody. I don't see any hands raised. We'll now disable all video and microphone for those attending virtually. We have no correspondence. Next is committee reports. Finance Committee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Committee met this evening. Thanks for everybody letting me come aboard there on that meeting, and hopefully I'll do okay. Trying to remember how to do that. The main subject, of course, of that meeting is the Parks and Rec program. We're still trying to work out some issues, trying to figure out It's significantly something that takes city resources, of course, and everybody that I've talked to wants to keep it around. So the mayor's working diligently with staff to try to figure out ways to make that happen, and hopefully we'll come to some conclusion, but that's an important budgetary thing that the council needs to keep their eye on, and that was our item of business that evening.
Great, thank you. Community Development Committee, please.
Community Development Committee was canceled, the sewer meeting. We also kind of moved, I don't know if we'll have that in the future, but the CDC new chair will probably have to work that out if they want to do that.
Okay. Public Safety Committee. You, or no? That's Angela, right? And she's,
Angela's the chair.
Yes.
you want to give a report, Ms.
We didn't
Councilmember
meet.
Roach? No? Okay,
We didn't have one since
gotcha.
But yeah,
early
she
this month, and
discussed
he
it.
did, yeah, we did have a report
Yeah.
on that,
Okay.
that last meeting,
Perfect.
or 2 weeks ago.
All right. With no other reports, we now have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt? The
So
consent
moved.
agenda? Okay, second, anyone? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. And then we do have a finance issue. Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2423, Resolution 3201. The council motion would be to authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement between Pierce County and the city of Bonnie Lake for opioid settlement funds.
A motion
So moved.
and a second. Okay, thank you. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Hubler.
Just to kind of make sure everybody knows, this one is the settlement funds that are coming from the opioid money, that the settlements all came in, the big government stuff. But one of the things that we had talked to Miss Burke about was how we as a city believe the money that, how we kind of want to direct how the money is being used. And one of the things that we had talked about in public safety was it finance?
I think that was
2 weeks
mine.
ago,
Finance.
finance
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Just make sure everybody knows is what we had talked about in finance, and we want to make sure the rest of the council is on board for, is kind of directing on our side of, like, we would like to see the money used towards prevention as much as possible, because that's so important to get our kids to know more about drug usage and what the long-term effects are, and our young people, and even, adults, of course, too, can get in, get on the wrong side of that. So just make sure you guys that weren't in finance know what we had talked about, and whether you guys have other ideas, make sure you guys all get your opinions in there as well of where should we direct and have the money used appropriately for.
Councilmember Fullerton.
And then piggybacking off of Councilmember Hubler, also the discussion was the fact that we only receive about 17,000 a year from the settlement. It's going to be right around 664,000 total over like a 17-year period of time. And so we're only going to get like 17,000 a year. So this particular item of discussion was working with other cities in Pierce County, such as Fife and Tacoma, and was it Buckley and as well?
I don't think it's
I'm not
on.
sure if it's on.
Is it?
It's lit up.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is an ILA to combine all of the money with all of the different cities that want to sign into this, so that we have more money to make a more robust program to prevent addiction. And there was talk about using some of the money towards transportation. And we were thinking possibly it would be better use to save the money rather than to spend it on transportation and try to come up with a program, was our thinking, so, that would actually help prevent versus, paying for gas or taxis. If you took all of the cities together and combined that 17,000 that's coming in per year, or 12,000, depending on which particular crisis package it's coming from, because there's two different budgets that's coming from. So we were just thinking that rather than pay for transportation, pooling that money together with all of the cities would make it easier for us to have a better program if we're not spending it on gas, was our thought.
Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. I had a question. So there was an email that was sent out, I think, to all of us just before the meeting. So you're probably all in finance committee. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was an invite from I can't remember her name, but she's the 6th council district, county council district. And she's putting together a meeting, inviting everyone from the different cities. So I don't know, is that related to this, directly related to this, or is it separate? Okay, so it's separate. Okay. Right, okay. And then I had a question too, so this one here we're doing tonight, I know they're different settlements. I think there's 3 different settlements, if I'm right.
Two.
Are they all happening at the same time? Is this resolution gonna, or do we need to do one for each one as they come in? Yeah, I'll just, my thought too, I think it was a small amount that's coming every year, so we need to, can you even use that? And does it make sense to partner? So probably definitely want to explore that with the caveat that sometimes we don't have as many problems as some of the other cities. So we want to make sure we're not losing our 17,000, but I think we should at least see what the options are, so.
Correct. And on the ILA, I would, Ms. Burke sits on that panel that helps distribute that as well. So
We had the option to choose. We could choose a council member if they want to be on that panel, or we could allow Ms. Burke to be on it. So we can kind of make that decision too, what we want as a council. We can just direct Ms. Burke, or we can have a council member that we can direct as well.
I felt like it made more sense to have Miss Burke because she's got the legal background. She understands the ILA. She understands the money. She fought for part of that money as well. And that having everybody come to the table with the committee that they've created for this ILA would actually prevent us from losing any of the funds that we received. It would actually help because there would be more. And if they would take it to a vote every time they're trying to disperse monies, but also if we could come up with like one single area where we could actually have a program that we could send our people to get help and to get off of opioids, would be more advantageous for us to have this ILA, because the $17,000 is not going to, per year is not going to give us any type of money that we can help maybe one person, maybe 2, 3, something like that. But by combining all of the monies together with the committee that is responsible for dispersing the money or coming up with a plan, with all of the money combined, we'd have a pretty good settlement that could possibly, I don't know if we'd be able to make a treatment program, a treatment building, but there'd have to be something, but anyway, I didn't explain that very well.
Any further comment? Okay. All those in favor of resolution 3201, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Very good. And seeing no more business, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
But regional. Is that one?